Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and today I'm bringing you guys another Hall Effect Switch. This is the Keytok Nova. Now, Keytok normally does keycaps, but recently they've come out with a new magnetic Hall Effect Switch. I'm curious, because if you guys look at this packaging alone, this is not your usual Hall Effect or Switch packaging. It looks incredibly premium, and it feels like they did something really special. So, let's go into this Switch, see what it's like, do some sound tests, and of course test it out and open it up. But please, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into it. Introducing to you guys the Keytok Nova, and there's a lot of information that is available here. So PA12 is going to be interesting because I really find that they're usually a bit thockier in terms of sound, but let's hear what the Switch sounds like and really see what we're getting with this. So you can hear, like with the switch standalone, it is going to be a little bit on the more volume increase side because I had to increase the volume for you guys for YouTube. But overall, it is a very quiet switch with a deep sound profile. Now in terms of the treble, so we're going to start off with a measuring tool just to see what we're getting at and making sure that it's accurate. So we have 15.3 all the way down to 12.0. That is 3.3 millimeters. Now on the site, it does say it's 3.4 millimeters plus or minus 0.5 millimeters. But of course, we're looking at 3.3 to 3.4 millimeters in travel. Now, as you can see here, the bottom is going to be a closed off for the switch. To get these open, you're just going to have to use like a switch puller on the sides there. Just pull off the tabs and you can easily get it open. It's not the most difficult thing to open up for sure. So just keep in mind for yourselves. Now, this is where it's going to be very interesting. You'll see right there, the pole of the stem is a completely separate piece. They're two separate pieces, kind of like what Gateron does. But Gateron's is not like this one, where it's actually fully apart. See how it's kept together? This thing is kept together right there with a little bit of this specific type of lube. I'm not exactly sure what material it is, but from Keytok, and I have spoken with them, it is something that's supposed to keep it a little bit more stable there and stickier, and it's supposed to last many years. So it's supposed to be a very thin consistency that can keep it more in like stable as well as last many years. But this is still kind of a concern to me, only because I'm not sure how it affects the switch or how it would be in terms of the long run. Like say if it dried out and then, you know, it doesn't stick anymore. These are the things that kind of concerned me about these switches, because of the fact that if I were to think about the long run of it, like say you were wanting to clean things out or somehow you got water in there, or if anything could have happened to it, it could stop losing its grip. But I also tested it this way. If you put the actual stem on the spring, will it fall apart, or will there be a situation where this could possibly fall apart and then you're not going to get the accuracy that you're looking for? But the way that the stem is made, it has a hold on it with the spring itself. So with the spring, you won't have to worry about it not being accurate anymore because it's still keeping it in the exact position. But this is something that just for me personally is a little bit of a concern in terms of these switches. But I see where a lot of these brands are kind of leading towards. I think a lot of brands are kind of pushing towards two separate piece pole and stem, just for the purposes of like helping out with top out sound as well as bottom out sound, and really trying to improve how Hall effect switches are. To be fair, I think it is mostly working, but it's still not towards like mechanical switches. It's still not there yet. The light diffuser here, it is quite nice. The whole switch is transparent, so it should be very good for like backlighting. The spring here, they say it's 21 millimeters. I was measuring it at about 20.5 millimeters. So this could be, of course, my off measurement in terms of how it's measured. But overall, this is kind of what I'm looking at with this specific spring at 20.5 millimeters single stage, and it's golden colored, which is quite nice in general. The feel of the spring with this board was quite smooth, and I felt like it had a very decent resistance to it at the top point as well. Now, in terms of the decibels, so this is where you guys can kind of tell how loud these switches are, really relatively to like other switches. This one's going to be averaging around the 55 decibel point. It's really not a loud switch. I would say that it's quite quiet, and even quieter than most conversations that you would hear beside you. Now on the top end of this switch, there is a lot of rattling. I was kind of surprised with that on the top side, it has a very decent amount of movement. Normally you would have thought that it would be not much, but this one at the top end, even when I'm holding down the housing, instead of it letting it move around in terms of the plate, it actually still has a decent amount of rattle. When you push it all the way down to the bottom, you will definitely see that there's like no stem wobble. They did a great job in the bottom end, but at the top end, you will get some rattling with these switches. Now to the top out sound. I would definitely say the top out sound is improved and pretty decent. One thing to note with these switches as well is they're very tight in most plates. So I have a very hard time actually removing them, and then even putting them back into a plate itself, I found it quite difficult. So these ones are going to be quite tight in terms of the plates. Now in terms of the backlighting, so the backlighting of this switch is actually pretty decent. This is at 10%. So we're starting off at 10, then moving up to 50%, and then from 50% to 70%. which is going to be like tachyon mode for Wooting, and then going all the way to 100%. And you can really see that this switch is quite bright and very, very accurate in terms of color, especially with the fact that it's a transparent switch. So you will get very good colors from it, and you will get a very bright backlighting, especially for those who like to have their RGB. Now this is my spreadsheet. I still need to update a lot more because I own so many of the Hall effect switches, but this is so far what I've been updating, and I just haven't had much time to update it more. I do have this available on my Discord, which will be linked in the description. You can actually go into my Discord, and that's where you can find a lot of my documents in terms of what I've been measuring. So make sure you join the Discord if you really want access to see the lists and the measurements and my analysis from them. And you can always ask me questions there as well. Now, in terms of where the Keytok Nova lands, it's going to definitely be on the deeper end. I would say that even compared to like the UIS Ultras or even the Wuchi Studio Flux Deep Clack, this one's going to be definitely a little bit more on the deeper side, but with a very, very quiet sound, which is probably why it sounds deeper than normal. As you guys saw my concern, and as I mentioned what Keytok had told me with the specific lubricant that they're using in here, it's supposed to be something very thin, but it's supposed to last years. Other than that though, I have to admit though, this is probably one of the best switches that I've tried from Hall effect switches. Like the UFOs were really up there, so were the UI Ice Ultras, especially the Extreme with the double stage spring, and even the TTC Flip. I actually really enjoyed those, as well as the Outlabs tie switch. This ranks in the top. I'm gonna say that for sure. This has to rank on the top, but there are definitely some concerns with it. I'll have the links in the description. You can use their code to save some money. I know that they're running a deal, I believe, right now. Or you can also use the code Mikey and save like 10% and support this channel. But I would advise use the better code and save more money. Now, check out the other videos I got, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.